For assembling, you need the Nokia Standard Toolkit version 2. Place the flash adhesive on the camera deco. Put the xenon flash into its place and press it slightly to activate the adhesive. Combine the camera deco and the body assembly. Fasten the 4 Torx Plus, size 4 screws in the order shown to the torque of 15 Nm. Use tweezers to attach the second camera grounding pad. Place the earpiece holder gasket into its slot. Remove the earpiece holder gasket protective tape. Make sure the earpiece holder gasket is aligned correctly as shown. Use tweezers to place the earpiece. Make sure the earpiece is aligned correctly. Press the earpiece gently from the black plastic parts to activate the adhesive. Attach the AV frame grounding foam with tweezers. Use tweezers to align the AV assembly on the engine board. Use the SS93 to connect the AV assembly connector. Be careful not to damage the connector or any nearby components. Place the engine board to the body assembly top end first. While aligning the engine board, be careful not to damage the side key flex connector. Check that the guiding pin goes through engine board and the AV assembly. Put down the bottom end of the engine board. Be careful not to damage the USB flex connector. Check that the guiding pin goes through engine board and the spring is against the chassis wall. Make sure you hear the locking sound from the 2 grounding springs. Fasten this Torx Plus, size 5 screw to the torque of 15 Nm. Fasten the 4 Torx Plus, size 6 screws in the order shown to the torque of 15 Nm. Use the SS93 to connect the side key flex connector. Be careful not to damage the connector or any nearby components. Use the SS93 to connect the USB connector. Be careful not to damage the connector or any nearby components. Attach the USB gasket with tweezers. Use tweezers to place the locking rail assembly top end first. Make sure that the antenna coax cable is not under the locking rail assembly. Put down the locking rail assembly and turn it into its place. Slide the locking rail assembly towards the bottom end of the device. Use tweezers to place the camera thermal gasket. Connect the camera connector with the SS93. Be careful not to damage the connector or any nearby components. Place the camera carefully into its cavity. The surface on the back of the camera is very thin ceramic. To avoid damaging it, do not touch or push the back of the camera. Attach the battery gasket with tweezers. Place the battery bottom end first. Do not connect the battery connector. Place the battery holder with tweezers. Secure the battery holder's snaps. Fasten the two Torx Plus size 5 screws in the order shown to the torque of 15 Newton-centimeters. Fasten this Torx Plus size 6 screw to the torque of 15 Newton-centimeters. Use tweezers to place the CPU heat spreader pad. Place the CPU heat spreader tape with tweezers. Place the second camera gasket to the window assembly. Note the alignment of the camera gasket. Use tweezers to align second camera assembly into window assembly. Activate the sensor sealing tape adhesive by pressing as shown. Make sure the second camera assembly is secured and aligned correctly. Use the SS93 to connect the display connector. Be careful not to damage the connector or any nearby components. The connecting order of the connectors is mandatory to minimize the risk of battery current short circuits. Use the SS93 to connect the second camera flex connector. Be careful not to damage the connector or any nearby components. Use the SS93 to connect the battery connector. Be careful not to damage the connector or any nearby components. Align the side key side of the window assembly to the body assembly first. Then put down the other side and press slightly to attach the window assembly correctly. Fasten the locking rail Torx Plus size 4 screw to the torque of 9 Newton-centimeters. Tighten the screw very slowly and be careful not to break the locking rail assembly. Push the label tray into its slot as shown. Make sure to place the label tray to correct slot. Place the SIM tray. Press the power key and check that the device restarts properly. The Nokia Lumia 1020 assembly procedure is now complete.